This week on Retirement Approved, is it time to start timing the market? We always hear that we're not supposed to do that, so let the guys break down as to what they're talking about this week here on the show. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome in to Retirement Approved with Matt and Steve Paul. Hope you guys are doing great this week. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube so you can catch more content as we put it out. Like this week's show, guys. Let's break down, is it time to start timing the market? And you guys got a great way, I think, of kind of explaining this to folks, especially with all the sports betting that's taken over the country everywhere, and every 5 seconds there's a commercial about it. So at least where I live, and I think where you guys live too, that's the case constantly. So we'll do that this week and have a little bit of fun. What's going on, Maddie? How you doing, bud?
Yep, today's podcast is going to be brought to you by DraftKings.
Is that true?
No.
No, not at all. What's going on, Steve? How you doing, my friend?
No, I'm hanging in there. I'm being a pro today. I was up pretty much all night with my youngest, who has a stomach bug. So
nice.
This is like my 5th cup of coffee to get through this.
Hey, sometimes you got to do the caffeine. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we're big sports fans here as well, and I thought this was a great way to break this stuff down. So I'm going to let you jump in, Matt, and just kind of get us going on this. So explain this interesting little analogy here.
Yep. So what is a parlay bet? So we consider a market timing to be very similar to this, but I'm going to show you a parlay bet that we at the office put together here. We all got in the conference room and said, all right, let's pick five things, and we threw $20 each on it, and we got 2 out of the 5 wrong. You can see, hey, we took the Niners, we took the Ravens and the Saints, but then we got cute with it with an over and under and a Saquon Barkley touchdown. And if we would have got all 5, we would have made like $2,000 at an office, had a nice little party here.
Okay.
But
so you have to get all of this right for the parlay.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
So you have to hit on all 5. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So if you miss one wrong, so the Rams and Bears game ended up at 42 points. So that's a miss. So that would ruin the whole parlay. And that is what we consider market timing to be, essentially a gamble. You need to get 5 things right. So right now, the big thing is the election. Who's going to win? We've had people say if Kamala gets in, I want out. If Trump gets in, I want out of the market.
Right.
So get out of the country. I'm leaving the country.
Oh, geez.
You hear that? Yeah.
All that crazy stuff. Yeah.
Yep. So what I did is I took that parlay that we put in and I said, here's all the 5 things you'd have to hit. And if you miss any one of them, it's not going to pay off for you. So you have to be right on the election.
Right.
You have to be right that they're able to implement their policy. You have to be right that this isn't even priced into the market because we know the market's very efficient. You have to be right that the market corrects, and then you have to be right redeploying the funds into the market. So if you want to go with that, and you can see that wager amount down there, life savings, if you want to do that, go for it. But I'd say rather pick 5 NFL teams, throw $100 on it, have some fun that way.
Yeah, this doesn't seem complicated at all, does it?
Yeah, it's gambling. I mean, all you're doing is gambling. You're kind of just chasing that high.
Yeah.
You hit on a parlay and you make $2,000. You get that nice little high. Like, oh, I'm going to try to do this again.
Oh yeah.
And then you bet 10 more times and you don't even come close. Same thing here. I mean, if you get it right one time, you're extremely lucky.
Yeah.
You caught that high, and now it's like, well, I'm going to do it again and again and again. But you got to be right on all these different variables, and it's extremely difficult to do.
Very, very difficult. Yeah.
We get. I mean, whenever we get to an election year, about 3 months out, we start getting this question. Pretty much, it's like I feel like it's daily. When do I get out of the market? When do I get out of the market? I saw this on the news. Or my grandson, he set me up with the Twitters. And investor extraordinaire 420 told me I need to get out of the market right now. It's like, oh, gosh. Drove us to do this podcast to talk a little bit about how difficult this is to do. So hopefully this relates with some folks out there. And it's like, wow, I didn't think about all these different variables. I need to hit on all this to be successful.
Yeah. That's interesting. So let me back that up real fast. So so looking at that, right? So you do the parlay, you have to get all these little pieces right. You don't know which way it's going to break, and then you got these 5 here. And what are the odds of that, right? Virtually nil.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a little story. We had a client who called when COVID first started spreading around. Said, hey, I want to get out of the market. We obviously tried to talk him through it, but ultimately he decided to move to cash. And guess what? He hit those first 4 bullet points. COVID caused a crash in the market and wasn't priced in. It was a surprise to everybody, but he did not redeploy those funds at the correct time. He was on the sidelines, and we saw pretty much an instant recovery with COVID and I don't know if he ended up getting into the market. I think it took another year or two, maybe in 2022 he got back in, but that's just how tough it is.
Yeah.
And it's never a cool calculated play. When you usually get out of the market, it's a pure panic play. You're freaking out. And when you start to freak out and panic, you're not going to make the best moves. And that's typically what we see. And it's our job to kind of coach our clients through these periods.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy when you're working. It's like, I have my 401k, I'm making $100,000 a year. I'm saving money every month. You know, if the market goes down, I'll max out my 401k. You know, I'll save every dollar I can and get it into the market and buy these lows. It's easier to kind of move through that period knowing, hey, market's going to bounce back. It might take a year or two, but market will bounce back. When you're in retirement, now you're pulling from your portfolio. The market starts to correct on you. It's a totally different feeling.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we talked 2 weeks ago about tracking your expenses and all the questions you need to really ask yourself going into retirement. One of the big ones is, what's my risk number? What am I going to be comfortable with my portfolio going down by if we have a correction? Because we'll have several of them throughout your retirement.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just moving through those periods without panicking and selling out of the market.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Interesting stuff for sure. Well, I know we've got a chart-laden podcast this week. Matt's gone to town with us. So what's our next one here we're going to get into, I think, Steve? We're doing some reactions here.
Yeah, this is all Matt this week. He's just charting us up, right? It just shows you an equity investor, a balanced investor, a bond investor, a reactionary investor, and then a cash investor.
Okay.
And really what this looks like going all the way back to 1960 with a $10,000 investment. What it's showing is the reactionary investor, every time there's a 30% pullback, gets out for 2 years. So that might be a little extreme, but again, this is just an exercise.
Okay.
And it shows the equity investor just holding, just moving through all these periods at north of $5 million in 2023. And you have the reactionary investor at short of $600,000.
Wow.
So it's time in the market, not market timing.
Right.
It works in the long run. It works while you're growing your portfolio during your working years, and it works in retirement too if you set the proper allocation that you're comfortable with.
And then fast forward one more chart, Mark, and this is going to show you all the different headlines. So obviously we have another election coming up, and every 4 years there's going to be an even crazier election.
I hadn't heard anything about that election coming up. Not at all. Yeah, no.
Yeah. So, and then just kind of look at last year we had the Silicon Valley bank collapse. That was huge. Attacks in Israel, Russia-Ukraine war. It's just been a wild 4 years, and I don't think an election is going to slow down the market. So it's just one of those things. I don't see any reason to make any dramatic risk shifts at the moment.
Okay.
Pretty much every one of these events, we get several calls saying, is this the time that we should get out of the market? I even have clients call me and go, I know what you're going to say, but should I get out of the market right now?
Is it this time? Yeah.
This is the time. This is when the world ends.
What is that? I can't remember what it was, but what show it was. It was like, now. How about now? Is it right now? How about now? Right. The character just kind of kept like trying to figure out when the right time was. Right. It's like you can't figure out the right time. It's impossible.
I know I have some clients watching right now going, oh, they're talking about me.
Well, we won't name names. Market timing. Let me ask you this, Matt, and then we'll get into the next one. I liken it to like your dad loves to play golf, right? And so I was playing golf with this guy one time years ago, and he got a hole-in-one on a short par 3, whatever it was, right? It was a small one, and just was super ecstatic. And it's awesome, right? But his demeanor, I think it was like the third hole of the course, but his demeanor the rest of the entire game was, I figured this out. I know how to golf. I have unlocked the hidden, the stars aligned and all this kind of stuff. And he proceeded to have like one of the worst games he's ever had in his life, is what he said. And so it's like this arrogance kicked into play. And I think when market timing, like if you got lucky once and knocked it out of the park, maybe sometimes you give that sense of that false sense of, I know what I'm doing, right?
Yep. But the word that we use in the psychology of investing is overconfidence. And that's one of the most dangerous ones out there. You get one right, you get two right, and now all of a sudden, hey, maybe I'm Warren Buffett.
Right. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, anyway, let's get back into it.
All right, so the next couple charts we'll go through quick here. Just showing, hey, if you had $10,000 and you only invested during a Democratic or Republican administration, or if you were just fully invested the whole time.
Okay.
Obviously, being fully invested just blows away anything because it's not
By
about the D's and the R's.
by a
Yeah.
landslide, it looks like. Yeah, that's like way down there. Okay.
But realistically, no one's going to get out for 4 years. So the next chart breaks it down. If you just got out of the market for the second half of an election year, so every 4 years, you decide to park your funds in cash for the second half of the year, you still are dramatically underperforming just buying and holding almost by about 50%. So that's why I know it's nervous. It's nerve-wracking going into an election, and it's always the craziest election every 4 years. And I think this one even tops the last one.
Oh, for sure.
But we're not looking to make any dramatic shifts just because there's an election coming up.
Yeah, and I understand everyone has really strong feelings about these two candidates, and we've taken a lot of phone calls. But again, we want to stay in the market. We don't want to react to this. Again, all the charts prove it. I mean, and we did that. It was a couple of months ago. We talked about whether a Democratic candidate gets in or a Republican candidate. It really doesn't, have an effect either way. So you want to stay in the market. Again, I have strong feelings. We're not going to talk about this today because I don't want to respond to angry emails all afternoon. So,
right.
But don't make panic plays. Don't react. Stay in the market.
Now this next chart is probably the most mind-blowing chart you'll ever see. So the whole point of this is to show you, even if you get it right, you can still be wrong. So what I mean by that is take clean energy and traditional oil and gas. Okay. One administration's obviously better than the other at that. So take the Biden administration and Democrats. You would think clean energy would be booming under their administration, terrible under Trump's. But if you bought clean energy under Trump and then you parlayed that into oil and gas under Biden, which is completely backwards,
right,
your $10,000 would grow to be over $100,000. You'd 10x your investment.
Wow.
But if
you'd be switching, so you'd be guessing that under one president it was one way, and then the other it was the other.
Now, if you did it the right way, which would be invest in oil and gas under Trump, because he, in theory, should be better, and clean energy under Biden, that would be perfect. You hit 2 in a row of what administration is correct, but your $10,000 would grow to $3,500, so you'd actually lose $6,500.
Wow, that's wild! Like, who would have guessed that? Right? You're right. That is pretty mind blowing.
And a lot of that is a function of just where interest rates are and where the economy is heading. So that's a lot of fair. It's out of control of the president, and that's why under Trump we were in a low interest rate environment, and clean energy stocks were booming because they borrow a lot of money.
Yeah, thanks for breaking that down, man, because that's a great point, because somebody might see that and think, wow, like, it really doesn't matter which, candidate you vote for, right? Because it does seem opposite to their platform, but really it had a lot more to do with those other influences, to your point, than it just did the actual president.
Yeah. In other words, don't get too cute with it.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. We got one more, I think.
Yep, and this is just saying, hey, even the best get it very wrong. So back in earlier this year, back in January 2024, December 2023, we were looking at various predictions, and we said, let's jot these down, and we'll come back to them and see where the market. Now the market's up 20%. J.P. Morgan said expect about a 12% loss. Now they still could be right.
Interesting.
We could get a 30% loss, but right now they're about 30% off.
Wow.
This is the no one knows what the hell they're talking about chart right here.
Yeah. So everybody picked at the end of the year would be down, basically, is what this is saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I mean, you go back to Q1 of this year, I would say 90% were bearish. And you get into Q2, 60, 70% bearish. Get to the end of the summer, 50-50. I would say now it's like 90% everyone's bullish. I mean, that's where we're at this point. That's a little scary to me.
Yeah.
Once you get to like 100% bullish, which is everyone's flipped, that freaks me out a little bit. It's like, what's going to happen to cause a pullback here? Because it's coming up when everyone's 100% bullish. So
interesting.
We'll see how it plays out.
There's something to be said about being non-consensus, and right now non-consensus would definitely be bearish, but that's the only thing that's bearish right now is everyone's bullish. And
yeah.
So now if you were to look at where these predictions fall, everyone's saying S&P 500 over 6,000 end of the year. So we will see. We'll see what the next few months brings.
Wow. All right. So I guess if you were wondering how a parlay works, hopefully that helps you. The guys explain that a little bit on how to use that. And if you're wondering how market timing works, well, apparently they work pretty similar. So As always, if you got some questions, you need some help, instead of just guessing at it, get yourself onto the calendar, have a conversation. We've had some stuff up on the screen for you throughout the show so that you can reach out to the team. And if you need some help, all you got to do is find them online at the main website at rwpaul.com. That's rwpaul.com. Of course, you can also go to the podcasting website as well, which is retirementapproved.com. You're going to end up in the same place, so go check it out, retirementapproved.com. Don't forget to subscribe to us again on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and all that good stuff. Hit the little thumbs up and the notification bell so you catch new episodes when they come out. And guys, thanks for breaking it down. I learned something because I've never really done it. I'm not much of a sports bettor, so I kind of just like look at it and go, I don't understand it. So
yeah, we didn't throw any Lions bets in there because we wanted a chance at this parlay. And you never win with a Lion bet. It never happens.
Thanks for hanging out, guys. We appreciate your time. We'll catch you next time here on Retirement Approved with Matt and Steve Paul. We'll see you later.
An SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Throughout the presentation, we may generally discuss different financial vehicles. However, nothing we say should be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle, nor should it be used to make decisions today about your investments or insurance. For full disclosures, check the show notes of today's episode.